Okay, so this one is going to be a bit different than the other analysis I've done, mainly because we're almost 9 volumes in and we don't know much about Raven from her perspective. It's kind of funny actually. Similar to Yang, most of what we hear comes from what other people perceive her to be. We've heard her described as ambitious, stubborn, a coward, and someone who uses others to get ahead. And to me, it never felt right boiling her character down to traits like these because her actions don't solely represent those attributes. In the history of the show, it feels like there are two different versions of her. The confident, righteous version of her during her time at Beacon, and the jaded cynic she becomes after abandoning her family and leaving behind what she probably considers to be a pointless war. And it can definitely be difficult to see those two sides of her as the same person while that part of the story is still shrouded in mystery. Now, this part is purely headcanon, so just follow me. But I think the reason Raven turned out the way she did is because she was there when Summer died. Hear me out. We know Raven has a portal to the other members of Team Stark, right? So her having one attached to Summer isn't a crazy idea. Plus, her semblance seems to have some sort of danger alert system, given how she was able to randomly help Yang out. And I think it's that interaction with Salem, where she probably witnessed her immortality, as well as losing Summer, that put Raven on the path she is now, where survival of the fittest is the only way to stay ahead of that oncoming destruction, as well as feeling her hate for Osman along with it. She's been doing that for so long, it's almost like she doesn't know how to speak to the important people in her life, because she's been hiding behind that tough, sarcastic facade for so long, denying the relationships she's wanted while watching from afar. And heck, looking at her conversations with Crow and Yang throughout the series, it seems like she's tried to pull both of them out of this fight as well, but her more combative approach stopped that from happening. I'm not here to make it sound like Raven is a completely good person, because she's definitely made some bad choices that have destroyed her relationships, but she's definitely not as uncaring and as spiteful as people might think. At this point, I'm still subscribing to the theory of either semblances being tailored to the person, or the person being tailored to the semblance that we heard about in Volume 5. If that's the case, then there should be no question if Raven still cares about them, since Kendrick Link requires an emotional connection to work. And even if Raven or the one she connected to have a hard time admitting it, that emotional attachment is still there. I mean, the first time we see her use her semblance is to save Yang on the train, and before she leaves, even though she's wearing a mask, you can tell there's this look of longing, almost like she's taking a hard look at who her daughter has become to burn that image in her mind. Then you have the moment right after Yang and Weiss leave in Volume 5, where Raven sort of admits to her standoffish behavior, recognizing that it's the driving force pushing those she wants close further away, as well as doing smaller things like checking in on Yang after she was injured in Volume 3, showing that she's worried but knows she can't come walking back into her life like nothing happened. And the fact that Yang recognizes her bird form means that Raven has been checking up on her a number of times. Those aren't the traits of someone who just doesn't care. It shows that she at least somewhat regrets the choices she's made along the way, since she's not able to completely let go. But because she left behind her family and has done a number of terrible things in an effort to avoid Salem, Raven thinks she's in too deep and has burned too many bridges for everything to go back like it once was, and maybe doesn't want all she sacrificed over the years to be for nothing. And that's kind of what we see in Volume 5 when her and Yang have their confrontation. The weight of all of her past actions from alienating the only people she cares about come flooding back when she's faced with the result of those actions. And that facade she built up to maintain her composure and keep fighting came crumbling down, leaving behind that weakened version of herself that's afraid to continue on. And yeah, some of her actions can be considered cowardice, but at this point I would say she's just afraid. Afraid of facing Salem again, afraid of truly facing those people she cares about, but most of all, afraid of once again being helpless as she watches the people she cares about die. It's much easier to deal with that loss when you try to keep everyone at arm's length, and I think for a show about continuously moving forward after tragedy, it's great to have that parallel of how others could deal with it, even if it's in an unhealthy way. If Raven is ever going to move forward, she needs to learn to overcome that fear and proudly stand behind the people she wants to protect. Raven is probably one of my top 10 favorite characters, just because I like watching people who aren't 100% good or bad. In a world like this, it's more likely that someone would do what they need to survive, or to make sure they have enough skin in the game to keep themselves safe. and I love seeing Raven go through that as well as the consequences that come along with it. But I'm not sure where I want her to go moving forward. I can see her helping them out of the Ever After, or appearing alongside Ty if they decide to show up in Vacuo. No matter what, I think the next time they meet is when they'll have an actual proper talk with Raven, showing a bit more of a caring side. But whether or not they can start over or continue to be estranged will completely depend on Yang. We'll just have to wait and see moving forward. So let me know what you think of Raven as a character and this slightly different style to the character analysis. I'd have to do something like this for the ones who don't have as much screen time, maybe like I did now, or maybe like with Neo or anybody else. But let me know, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.